Hello everyone, this is Stuart again over at Multimedia Corp. Today I will be doing another WordPress tutorial video. This one is going to be an overview of WordPress and some of the important features with WordPress. So first off, let's get right into it. So as I did last time, I have a throwaway website and a username and whatnot. So I've already logged into the website. There is another video that you can check out on how to log in to your website. But once you log into WordPress, I'm just going to show you a quick tutorial on some of the major features of WordPress. So we'll start from the top here. To find out what version of WordPress you are currently running, the easiest way is once you log in and see the screen is to go to the W icon here at the top left corner. Just highlight over it with your mouse and then just click on it and it'll bring up the WordPress version. So right now I'm currently at the newest version. There is a 5.3 beta that's coming out pretty soon, but right now we're at WordPress 5.2.3. Okay, and then there's some other things here as well about the maintenance and security releases. So if you're a nerd such as myself, you can go into the release notes and check out what changes and bugs have been fixed. You'll also see the credits and the privacy statement as well. Okay, so that's how you find out what version of WordPress you're running if anyone ever asks you, or if you need to find out if an update has worked. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to look at your website. So there's one way, easy way. If you need to get to your site quickly, you can just click on the My WordPress website here on the top. And if you just click on that, it will take you to what your WordPress site looks like. So for myself at the moment, this is basically a standard WordPress install. There's no template installed other than the default template. There's no posts other than Hello World, which has been around forever and a day. And then as you can see down here, it's been powered by WordPress. So nothing has been set up on this site once again. And if you want to get back to the WordPress dashboard, you can just click that again. And this is actually a menu as well. It'll give you some other options in there. But yeah, basically what you're seeing right now on the screen is the WordPress dashboard. Welcome to WordPress. You can customize how this looks. You can see there's some empty blocks over there. So if you wanted to write yourself some notes or put some other blocks in there, that you could do so. That's for a more advanced tutorial that we're not going to cover today. You have the at a glance here. So there's one post, one comment, one page. So if there was some comments you had to moderate, you could do it there. Most websites I work on don't have comments turned on, so it's not an issue. It tells you what theme you're running as well. So if you're with Multimedia Corp and I've designed your website, then this theme will be Multimedia Corp's theme. Okay, it's a custom themes that I design for my clients. Also tells you what was recently published for posts as well. So as you know, WordPress is a blogging platform, but for many purposes, it is used as for regular websites as well. It's become one of the biggest out there today. Over on the left side here, you have Howdy, and this is my username right now. It'll be whatever username has been assigned to you. And you can edit your profile in here, and this is where you also log out of WordPress. So it's important to log out of WordPress when you're done making any changes or doing any new posts on it as well. You can edit your profile. I'll just click on it quickly. I don't usually change anything in here, but if you need to change your password or your display name, this is where you do it. So right down here, you could generate a new password, or you could just type in password of your choosing. Now it does give you a warning if your password is not strong. For instance, if I type in something like this, it'll say medium or strong or weak. If you type in a weak password, you should be able to bypass the requirement as well, which I don't recommend. It's important with passwords to have a long password rather than one with a bunch of a shorter one with a bunch of strange characters in it. So I'm just going to click cancel because I don't want to update it. And then you could change the look of it as well if you wanted to do that. I usually just leave it all on the defaults. So let's go back to the dashboard here. Some other important things you'll want to get familiar with is the screen options. Now, by default, depending on what kind of plugins and themes you got, there'll be some extra boxes up here. And if you're in Post, if I go to Post, in the Post, if you go to screen options, there'll be things like author, categories, date, and whatnot. So this upper box here will change depending on which section of the website that you're in. Most important thing you want to worry about is your updates. So when you go and do WordPress updates, they should in theory all show up in a list here. So if you had 15 plugins here and a theme here or a couple themes, you could update them here, and what shows up is checkboxes, and you can check them up and then do the updates. Usually I try to do updates one at a time, because once in a while if you do them all at once, then some strange things tend to happen. But it also depends on the plugins that you're using as well. Some plugins that won't be an issue, but other plugins it might be. So if you try to run all the updates at once and then something weird happens, then I would suggest that you just run one update at a time and just make sure that the website works after the update. Because it does on occasion. Sometimes things do break when you do updates. Some other things. Okay, so under posts on the left side here. So posts there's two categories of pages in WordPress. One is posts and one is pages. So posts are anything that is typically dynamic. So if you wanted to write a blog post about something, you would come to posts and you would see what all the posts are by clicking all posts, and you see what's currently in the list here. Right now it's just the default. But if you wanted to add a new post, you just go over here to the left side and click Add New. And then this is what's called the Gutenberg editor. Now, I'm not a big fan of it, but I'm not going to go into too much on how to use this, but you can add blocks. They use blocks here, and you can add the title of your post, and then you start adding blocks. So as you can see over here, you would add an image. You can add heading. Headings are important for SEO, and then you can add galleries and text and stuff like that. So if you click on the plus side, paragraph, image, heading, quotes, lists. So this is all pretty standard stuff that you would see in some basic word processing editors. Just the way they lay it out is a lot different than you would be normally accustomed to. And then over on the right side, you have the visibility. So if you wanted to make it not publicly visible, you could have it password protected or private. So if you wanted to write a post that's only accessible to people's password, you could do that. Or you could have a post that's only accessible to the site administrators or editors as well. Okay, I won't go too much into that. Categories are important. If you have a lot of content on your site, then you would add categories. I'm not going to add any. Tags. Tags can be useful if you wanted to group certain articles and blog posts together. Featured image is important too. If you have, if your website layout has a lot of dynamic content, then you want to have a picture on the front page for that post. Excerpt, I don't usually use that. And discussion. Now, I usually turn off discussion because most of my websites are not using this, but if you were using WordPress comments, you would either leave this on or turn it off. And actually, you can turn off all comments in the settings as well if you want to go that route. What I do, though, because I'm not a big fan of this editor, I like to go back to the traditional editor, and you can actually add if you go to installed plugin or go to plugins and you click add new, you can actually get the classic WordPress editor back. And actually, the first one that comes up is the classic editor here. I'm just going to install that just so you see how it works. So you click the install button and then you click activate. Settings are for the classic editor. So now when you go back to post and add new, and then it looks a lot more basic now, and you have some more of the I usually click this too. That gives you some extra options down here for bold and text color and stuff like that. So this is the more traditional WordPress to create a page or a blog post. Okay, and then on the left side now we have media. This is another important thing. So anytime you upload PDFs, photos, or anything that you want to include, you would do it in the media library, and you would just click the Add New button, and then you could drag and drop files into here. Now, by default, PDFs may not work depending on how your website was set up. If that's the case, then you'll have to contact support or a web designer to make sure that that's turned on if it's not working. Images, you just drag and drop in here, and away you go. Again, this is just a basic overview. Okay, pages. So pages are where all the static pages usually end up. So if you're designing a website and the page is not going to change much, this is where you would do that. And they have a little more weight on the SEO side, the pages, because they're more static. So if I click on now to edit a page, it's the same as a post. You would just click on it. So for instance, the privacy policy, this is what would normally come up with a default install. It has a basic privacy policy here, and you could go ahead and change that. So click on all pages again. You can see that there's one published and one draft. So if it's in draft, it's not going to show up on the public side of the website. But if it's published, it's published. Okay. Comments. So if you want to moderate comments, you have a default comment here. So if a comment came in, you want to approve it. By default, everything is unapproved, and you have to approve it. But then you would just go here. You can reply to it. You could trash it, spam it, edit it, or unapprove. In this case, it is already an approved comment, but you can unapprove it, and it won't show up on the website anymore. Appearance. Okay, so under appearance is where your themes are. So there's a whole bunch of themes. In Multimedia Corp's case, there would be a Multimedia Corp theme already in here, and one would be the main theme, and one would be the child theme. Now the difference between the two is the child theme is where all the changes are made, and the main theme or the parent theme is where changes are rolled out from Multimedia Corp. So major updates to the template, and any customizations to it would be in the child theme. So you would see two there. If you're not using a Multimedia Corp theme, then you could download them from all over the place. And these themes that you see here right now are default themes for WordPress. So you can customize them a little bit, the default themes. There's not a lot you can do in here, but you can change things like the logo, the site, like the title of the site, the tagline. So these are important things, and you could put a logo in there, and also a site icon. Colors, you can change some of the color schemes and stuff, but you don't have a lot of wiggle room with these basic themes as well. Menus are kind of important. So you could create a menu here. This is a new menu, and you could just create that. I'll just create them all. I think something changed here, but anyways, and you could just publish that. So this is a new menu. Okay. Also widgets. So you could have widgets. Now widgets are basically little blocks or modules that would end up on the site, and you can kind of customize them a little bit. So for instance, search, you could have like a search box up here. Let's say this is search. See, this is right here now. So this is technically the footer. I don't know why it's ending up here, but this is search. So that's basically just a search function that ended up there. You have also things like recent posts and categories. So you have archives, meta, recent posts. So these are all basically widgets in there. Then you have homepage settings. Depending on how the site was designed, you would have either latest post or static page. Most of the time it's static page, and then whatever page it happens to be. So I would have already had to create a static page for that. But if you were running a simple blog, you'd probably just leave it on latest posts. And an additional CSS. So if you added some additional code that you wanted to put in here. Now this is CSS code, not JavaScript or anything like that. This is where you could put it. And this would be global CSS. So if I wanted to, for instance, do something like this, we'll just inspect the element here so you can see what I mean. So we have entry title here, which is H2. This is the code right there. I think I spelled that. Was it underscore? Entry dash title. Sorry. All right. So now we have 10, and I'll use pixels. It's just be easier. 10 pixels, and you can see there, I can put a border, 1 pixel, solid black, and when you see a border appears like that. So you could do a lot of customizations like that. I do that with my websites. I do a lot of customizations in here. There's some also JavaScript that would show up too. Down at the bottom here, you'd see how it look in the different views as well. Like that. So I get background color, red, boom. That's another quirk of WordPress right now, is that autocomplete. I could also do box, shadow, 1 pixel, 1 pixel, 1 pixel, 1 pixel, and RGBA 128, 128, 128 dot. We'll put half transparency like that. So we'll just increase this so you can get a general idea. So I can make like a box shadow around it. Let's put some blur, just to style it up a bit. And this, there. So I maybe went a little overboard here in the general tutorial, but yeah, you can go in here and do some customizations to your site that way as well. So sure, we'll just publish that. Not using the site for anything. You could also change your theme in here as well if you wanted to. Just another way to do it. And then when you're done in here, you can just click X to get out. So customize, we just kind of covered a little bit. Widgets, menus. Again, this is another way to do menus. So you could add to a menu and then go in here. So this is where all your menus. You can create multiple different types of menus. They don't have to be all one menu. We'll just say sample page, menu item. Say menu. And then when I go to the site, you'll see the sample page menu item here will take you to this sample page, right? So pretty simple. Well, at least for me, but you get a general idea of how that works. So yeah, this is where the menus are generally set up. And then you have the theme editor. So for the nerdy folks out there, you could go, that was just a warning saying don't come in here because you could mess things up. This is where all the actual code is for WordPress, as well as the basically the theme. So we have themes here. So there's a lot of stuff you could fiddle around with in here. But generally, I try not to change anything in here. I'd rather just change it in the child theme. That way, when there is security updates and whatnot, then I won't be messing up the. I won't have to go back and do all the changes again. And that would cover the appearance section. And then plugins. This is where you install your plugins. So right now we had the classic editor that I installed. If there were some settings for it, you click on the settings. If you want to disable it, you could deactivate it here if it was causing an issue. Sometimes plugins will cause issues, and you have to disable it to get around a fix. And then you can activate it again. Plugin editor. Again, just like the other editor. So at Kismet, not using that, but you could go in here and change how the plugin operates. The only thing with doing that is when a plugin gets an update, it's going to override your changes. So, take it for what it's worth. Next on the list, we have users. Again, with the users, so right now that's just me. I'm the administrator. If you wanted to add users now, just new user, just go to add user and put this is a new user, email. I need a email address at email.com. Put the name in, last name, website password, whatever. And then you have roles down at the bottom here. You would generate a password to them, or you could send them send the user information about their account so they receive the new password. For roles, so basically administrator is what I am now. You have editor, which could basically write new articles, change posts and pages, comments, etc. But they can't make any changes to the website itself. Author, basically the same thing, except they can't change other people's posts. Contributor, again, is sort of the same thing, but you're only able to contribute it. You can't actually publish anything. And then subscriber just lets you, it doesn't really let you do too much other than it's a way to sort of make posts available to certain people and on other people. Now there are plugins out there that you can make this more granular, so you can have different types of groups and stuff like that, but this is the basics of WordPress right now. Your profile, again, I kind of showed you this earlier when I was changing the password. Tools, under the tools menu here, categories and tags converter, I'm not going to worry about that. Import, you're probably not going to worry about that. I mean, I guess you could technically import from other blogs, your blog posts, your pages, and your media as well if you were transporting it to another site, but you didn't want to keep the site the same. Site health, yeah, you could actually go in here and check some basic things with your website. And like, this is a brand new install, and it's funny because it says it's at 41%, which is a little wonky in my books, but it says the REST API encountered an error. I see. Okay, so this error is only showing up because this is not a real host name. This is just something I made up, so that's not going to work as well. I could not complete a loopback request for the same reason, because it's not a real website. So it has some recommendations. Well, you should remove inactive plugins and update PHP, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. Generally, you're not going to be too worried about this stuff. This is something that a more experienced developer or someone managing your host would take care of if there was some errors in here like this. And then you could export your personal data as well. I've never really had a need for this, but I'm sure some people out there do. And then we move on to settings. Under the settings menu, you would have your site title. This is just a throwaway website, and the tagline is, please do not throw this away yet. And then you would have the URL or the website address, the domain here as well. So if you're on Multimedia Corp, most of my sites, I recommend them have it on HTTPS, so it's encrypted. You could technically change in here, but there's a little bit that you have to do actually to change that so it doesn't break. The administrator web address, so if you're managing the site yourself, you'd want to change this to your address. That way you get notifications if there's an issue or if there's a new blog post or comment, etc. Membership, anyone can register. I usually keep this off, but if you're a blog and you want people commenting a lot, then you want them to be able to manage it themselves, so you turn this on. Site language, US, you set your time zone. This is kind of important. I'm here in Canada in the Toronto Eastern Standard Time or Daylight Time. So there should be a Toronto here somewhere. Oh, actually, Thunder Bay is also here. Because it is Linux-based, Thunder Bay is in this list. So I'm going to set that, which is Eastern Standard Time. Date format, you can just leave that as is. All right. Because there wasn't really much going on with the site yet, I was able to convert this over to HTTPS without any major issues, thankfully. Otherwise, this video would have had to been cut short. As to where I was, on the left side, you would go to writing. So you can set things like the default post category. There's no categories right now, but you could change it there. A default editor for all users. You can change if you wanted to use the new editor, which is the block standard, or the classic editor, where it's a lot simpler to use. Or you could also allow them to switch it as well. Post by email. I would never personally use this. It seems kind of janky and insecure, but if you wanted to make new posts via email, you could do that. I'm just going to save changes. Readings. So these are settings for your reading. See your home page display. Again, we saw the setting before, your latest post static page. Blog pages show almost 10 posts. So you could change it if you wanted to put more on and whatnot. Discussion. Again, this is where you would turn off discussion or comments if you didn't want them on. So what I usually do is I take that off. I usually leave that on. Attempt to notify blogs, link from other articles, comment author. Okay, that's so if somehow they did manage to comment on it, they would still need to put their name and email. And then email me. I'd usually turn this one off. And then comments must be manually approved. Now this stuff would be already set up if you had purchased a website from us. Then we have media. Again, so you have some default media settings. So when you upload a photograph, you'll have some default sizes of it that you could pick from. So it automatically takes your photo and adjusts it to these default sizes, which is a good thing because you don't always want to put the biggest possible photo in an article or as a thumbnail. I usually just leave these as is. Permalinks. This is one thing too. If you've never set up a WordPress site before, I always recommend setting it to post name. Simply because it's better for the search engines and search engine optimization. It's also better if you're giving a link to somebody to have a friendly name rather than something kind of like this where you have all these characters and titles and dates and stuff in the name of the web address. So I usually set that out for all my customers before I even start anything. I just set to post name. Okay, and then privacy. So if you had a privacy policy, you could, if you had a different page, you could set that. It's just something new that's been, I think this privacy policy thing hasn't been around maybe for a couple of years, or not even a couple of years yet as well. Just kind of like a standard thing they added. And then that's basically the basic overview. What I may do here in the near future is install some plugins, what a more typical site would look like with a multimedia template installed, so you get a better idea. So I think that's going to wrap up this overview of WordPress. So if you have any questions, you can always leave a comment on the video, and or you could always message me on Facebook or something, and I'll get back to you. Thank you for watching today. Hopefully this enlightens you on some aspects of how your WordPress site works and where to go for certain things. Thank you for watching.